Welcome back. In this episode, I'm going to take you behind the scenes and show you a training video that I made for my team. How did I set up the lighting in this room, for example? That's what I'm going to show you. Okay, this is a training video to show you how I got this set up, from the lighting, from positioning of everything, the V-flat, the camera. So I've got the intensity quite high, 72%. We're at kind of a bluish purple color, saturation 100%. If we're gonna use color, we might as well use it all. But yeah, the intensity surprised me. I started out clear down at 25%. So it's obviously shining this bluish purple color. On my iPhone, it looks more blue, but in real time and on the DSLR camera, it looked more purple. All right, then I've got this little pile of stuff just blocking the light. So when I'm standing here, the light doesn't shine on me. That's the whole purpose of why I have that there. And you know, if I flip this around, that's what it looks like on phone. But I'll show you on the camera setting that I've got right there. Now, what I did with the 300D Mark II light is I actually found the best results just by shining it up. Obviously, I've got a lot of natural light coming in here. In fact, let me turn this light off. It's at 15% right now. If I turn it off, you know, there's some light automatically reflecting off the V-flat. So I have window light coming in. It was bouncing back off this reflector V-flat, and it looked good. But if you can see on the viewfinder there, I still wanted a little bit more light. So let me turn on, and then it will adjust. Because I actually notice how I set ISO to auto, and I set the shutter speed. The reason being, as I leaned in and my face got brighter, the ISO could automatically turn down. One more important thing is the color temperature. Notice it's set to 5,500 degrees Kelvin, which is, you know, I warmed it up a bit because I think it was at 52. So I just finished filming here, and I'm going to lay down the V-flats, but I'm going to leave my setup exactly as I have it. I took quite a bit of time to fine tune it. The reason that I've got space between those and I have the V-flats kind of pushed further back than the camera is because you notice I've got microphones there. One's for when I'm standing this close, another one I can lean in and I'm closer to that mic. So I've got two different mics there. And then I've got two mics here when I'm back here by the flip chart. So I'm gonna leave everything as it is, except for I'm gonna lay down the V-flats so they don't warp. And I have another sound foam V-flat right here. Let's see if you can tell. That's actually like a lime green yellow that I'm bouncing off the V-flat. And it warmed up the background. I've got the settings on the DSLR actually clear up to 6,200 degrees Kelvin, but it just gave me a warmer skin tone. And then I needed a background to kind of match. And anyway, the shot looks awesome. So I want to show you my setup and show you what you can do in dim light with the Canon 90D. All right. So I don't have the lights above me turned on, but I do want some lights back there. But it, you know, and the automatic adjustment on the phone here is looking pretty good. It looks pretty lit, right? Well, on the camera, the way that I have the settings right now, we've got 60 shutter speed. We've got f-stop at 1.4, and we have the ISO at 100. So we could certainly turn that ISO up, right? And I'm lit great. I think this looks great, but I've got a really dark background. So I want to show what happens right now. I've got both lights set at 9%. So let's just be crazy. What if I turn it down to 4? And what if I turn this one down to 4? Obviously, I look a lot darker, don't I? So I turn the ISO, I don't know, let's try 250. And that still looks great on me. The light looks great. It looks totally soft. Trying to look at like skin tone. I think skin tone looks good. I've got it at 5,500. But notice how the background doesn't quite look as dark. And I haven't even lit. Now we can obviously light the background. If we were to look at this shot and say, the background looks too dark, Well, how does the subject look? We need to look at the subject first. Does the subject look amazing? Okay, if we like the background, what if it detracts from how the subject looks? I'm even gonna just experiment. What if I go down to 2% there? 4% down to 2 is gonna be a drastic drop. Well, let's just check it out. So now I need to increase the ISO. So we try 640, see what that does. All right, so take a look at that. The background looks more lit. Right now I think it might be competing with me. It looks good. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to turn it to 3. So now the light's at 3%. Yeah, I now look hot. I look hot on the screen here. So I'm gonna back off the, let's see if I go back 2 stops to, it's still only at a 400. I've obviously got a really warm background. So if I look at my skin tone and think, I could warm that up a bit. Now, do I not do that because the background is so warm, it'll make it even warmer? But again, the goal is for myself. So I have to hit stop on my camera here, but I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I'll hit stop and I'm just gonna play with the color temperature. All right, so now looking at the screen there, what you're seeing on the phone, it looks worse than it is. So now I'm gonna turn on the camera. Okay, so now we're at the color temperature of 7200, and I was expecting it to be more warm than this, but I mean, it's a little bit too warm, but like 7200, you'd expect it to be way more, but like in comparison to the background, I don't look too warm. Now I have to stop the camera and I'm going to take the color temperature. Let's go back to, all right, so this is actually at a color temperature on the camera of 6200. And again, these 2 lights that I turned only down to 3% each are at 5500 degrees Kelvin. So it really does make the background look warm. I could add some blue to the background, couldn't I? Maybe I should try that for this video. Before I do that, so now what I'm gonna do is have my team show you side by side 5500 degrees Kelvin and the 6200 degrees Kelvin. Okay, so I've got colored light set up in the background and it's set to purple because that's what I was using it before with the sound foam. Wow, what a completely different look, right? I think it actually looks pretty cool. It's surprisingly, I mean, it's weird that there's the orange and the pink. My goal though is I wanted to go to like blue to a cool color, maybe even green. So I turned up the color temperature to 6200, and man, it sure did make that background look way more warm, but I can actually cool it down just a little bit. That's 2% of some blue light back there. Personally, it's not my favorite. It depends on the look that you're going for. If you want it to look like a conference center, like some people have said this looks like, then great. Otherwise, I could just be extreme, you know, and make it look like a fun party room that's purple. That doesn't even look realistic. As I looked at the footage myself, I actually decided I didn't like the green or the blue, but I added a little bit more red and I think I like it. In fact, I think it's so crazy that I don't think people are gonna believe that that's a real background. So then I had an idea, what if I start out my videos like this? If I hit go, all right, the next thing that we're gonna talk about is, I think I'm gonna do that so people like, are just kind of like, where is this guy? Anyway, just wanted to show you what I ended up choosing. See, there's a good amount of space behind the camera to the V-flats. And the reason that I'm doing that is I learned from filming last time, a few days ago, that if I want to be able to have multiple positions where I've got, you know, a mic here, and then I can come up and talk right here, and I can even lean into the camera if I want to, that I need to be well lit at all times. And so as I backed up the V-flats, it added more even light, and it worked. It looked great even here. As I came back further, the light was pretty good. At this point, standing, you know, this far back, I'm like, it would be nice if there were a little bit more light. So what I could have done is put more space behind the camera to the V-flats and turned up the intensity on both of them, which, by the way, that light is just putting light up on the ceiling in this area. So what I decided to do is grab another aperture light right there. But if you look closely, I put the eggshell on it. So normally the light would come at me this direction and would add more light to me. But as I slowly move, there's just a little bit of light on me from it, a little bit more, a little bit more, you know, until I've pretty much got direct light on me from it. Okay, I've got the lighting all tweaked. I turned up the temperature a little bit. It was actually at 6,000, which is warm, but I turned it up to 6,200. I actually like the warmth there a little bit more because I've got a really warm kitchen behind me. And so I just felt like I needed a little bit more warmth on my skin. It made my skin look a little bit too cool. Which I could put a light and cool down the kitchen, I guess, but I'm not gonna do that. I really like the look of this. But check out the lighting all the way back. I didn't talk back there because I don't have it mic'd up, but I think this turned out really good. I just created a real soft light, as if I were just facing a big, huge window. So just this window that wraps around you. Notice it's not too bright. Look at this. This one's only set at 2% intensity. And this one, same thing, just 2%. I've got the color temperature at 6,000, so it's warmer than I usually do, but this is a really warm background. It's extremely warm background, and I love it. I think it just looks rich. I wanted some shots of the floor, so I've actually got the camera up just a little bit and angled downward towards me, but still following the rule of thirds. And then there is weird spacing of the furniture, but I'm sitting in front of the weird part. So if I move, you'll kind of see that spacing looks a bit awkward, and then when it comes out of blur. Let me show you, let me back up with my iPhone here and just show you the setup. You know, so I'm filming myself, but instead of having, if I were to have a videographer with me, there's plenty of room here that they could just set up a little station right here, you know, and just view the camera this way. A lot of space. I do have the lights up there, so that adds to the warmth, you know, because there's such a lower degree Kelvin. I turn that one on. Pretty simple. There is daylight coming in from that window. These shutters are only open just barely. And from my filming before, I do have that light aiming up at the ceiling. It just kind of provides a little bit of light coming this direction. I'll show you if I turn it off, which is at 100% by the way. If I turn it off, it just has shadows coming from this way. So if I turn it on versus off, you can just see. So in the background, it's not gonna make that much of a difference, but I like the lighting on me. It was just a softer lighting all around. Now you know what's possible, and I wanna teach you how to do it. I've packed all my tools, tips, and strategies into a free resource. It's called my Influencer Almanac. I'm all about leveraging YouTube to grow your influence. That's what this is for. So go ahead and click the link below and get access to my Influencer Almanac.